For more, I'm joined in the studio by our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, good to see you. Are we a step closer to that full-scale ground invasion of Rafah?
Well, I think the answer to that question is that no one really knows right now exactly what Israel is planning to do in the short term. But I think there's no doubt in the fact, and certainly in the mind of Binyamin Netanyahu, that whatever happens and whatever it takes, he's going to push ahead with that ground offensive. And this is all the premises to that when you see people being evacuated. Israel's already said that 300,000 people have been evacuated from that zone. More evacuations being forced on people through, as we were just hearing in that report from Shirley Sitbon, through telephone messages, through people being actually rung up and told to move. So another 480,000 people. The problem here is we don't really know, and no one really knows where they're going to go. They're being told to go to the Al-Mawasi humanitarian area, but that's already absolutely chock-a-block full with people, and they don't have the capacity to take in any extra refugees due to the fact that they don't have the supplies there to be able to help them. There are no amenities at all, so people are living in extremely squalid conditions. Coupled with that is the threat that if this ground offensive does take place, we've seen this happening over the last few days with the military activity taking place around Rafah, is that the supply of humanitarian aid will also dry up into the Gaza Strip, where thousands, if not over 1 million people are suffering from a lack of food. In fact, over 1 million, according to the World Health Organization. So it's very difficult to see exactly where this is going, when this ground offensive is going to begin. But what the Israelis are saying, and in particular Binyamin Netanyahu, is whatever it takes and whatever the international community says, this ground offensive is going to take place at some point.
And as these operations from Israel are expanding in Rafah, the armed wing of Hamas posted a new video of a hostage.
Yeah, this is very interesting because this is coming at a time when there is growing international pressure on the shoulders of the Israeli Prime Minister, not only domestically to get the hostages released, but also from the international community. Not only concerning the hostages, but we've heard it days running from the US president and from the allies of Israel that any ground offensive is going to cause misery for millions of people in the Gaza Strip, and it could also lead to greater numbers of casualties. So the fact that there's another video of a hostage speaking, basically saying time is running out, your government is lying. He's been named as Nadav Popplewell, who was kidnapped on the 7th of October. That's stacking more pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister to get the hostages liberated, to come up with some kind of deal with Hamas. On top of that, to make things even worse for the Israeli Prime Minister, is the fact that there are conflicting reports this afternoon that Nadav Popplewell is in fact now dead, having died from his wounds after an Israeli airstrike. This hasn't been independently confirmed, but it's according to Hamas and quoted by the Reuters news agency this afternoon. So this is all part of the psychological effort of war to stack the pressure on the shoulders of the person that you want to bring to the negotiating table to try to force their hand, if you like, to do that.
And meanwhile, Philip, the U.S. also putting more pressure on Israel. They issued a pretty stunning criticism of Israel's use of American weapons in Gaza, saying that it was reasonable to assess that Israel has used those weapons in a way that goes against international law.
Well, this is also quite interesting, Alison, because there's been pressure. We've heard Joe Biden saying over the past few days, I'm going to stop weapon shipments to Israel. There has been a blockage of some heavy weapons, bunker-busting bombs. There's been a blockage of about 1,800 of those going to Israel. But remember that Israel and the United States signed a memorandum of understanding back in 2016 for a 10-year period between 2018 and 2028 concerning the shipment of US arms to Israel. Now, for the moment, the US hasn't actually said it's going to interrupt that, which means that there are $38 billion worth of munitions heading towards Israel. That hasn't been interrupted over that 10-year period, including munitions and tank rounds, which can be used by the Israeli authorities. So there is pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister Binyamin Netanyahu, but that doesn't seem to be making any dent on him because he knows that he's got his right wing, far right wing, threatening to withdraw their support from his government, which would collapse afterwards if he doesn't push ahead with this offensive in Rafah. And I think he thinks it's safer probably to play the United States on this game than to risk my own political future within Israel itself. I'm going to push on as far as I possibly can with this offensive in Rafah and hopefully get it over with.